sons of humanity, of terror, my brothers, I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and all bonds of fellowship, but it is not this day, an hour of beasts and twisted metal, when the age of men comes crashing down, but it is not this day. This day we fight! By all that you hold dear on this earth, I bid you stand, men of Cadia!
Right guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have an awesome battle. It's me and Phil with our Tyranids taking on Ali and his guard. Josh has brought the Blood Angels along for reinforcements. So today's a very thematic battle. We're just going to play it and see how it pans out. If you want to see the army lists, please check out the other video. There's a bit much to go through with everything, to be honest. So what we've got here is the Tyranids, most of the Griblies. All these guys have managed to get through the bombardment and everything from the gate into the city. Previously the Tyranids sent an outflanking wave to distract the Imperium on this planet, and although they were decimated, it allowed High Fleet Orca to wake up part of High Fleet Karlesh. Both splinter fleets of High Fleet Leviathan, hence the Blood Angels' presence in this sector as well. So as it stands, Ali is deployed along the ramparts. There's not many Imperial Guard left in the city. Most of the civilians have fled. The Imperial Guard are going first, and despite the Blood Angels having drop pods, they are delayed. So the name of the game is for the Tyranids to break in through the gate. The gate is going to be armor value 13 with 5 hull points. The Blood Angels have been delayed. They will not be arriving until turn 2. warlord traits that we've got, we are allowed to reroll reserves with this guy. Josh's warlord trait allows Dante to reroll reserves and scatter D6 when deep striking jump infantry. But his other warlord trait was -1 to our reserve, so we've got 4 up rerolling. He's got a 3 up rerolling on jump and flyers. So, a couple of things about this giant table. Ali or Josh can open the gate or close it at the beginning of their movement phase. They can't do both in the same turn. This is a sentry heavy bolter, ballistic skill 2, twin linked heavy bolter, shoots at its nearest target. This is a sentry las cannon, and the mortars up here. The mortars are going to be, meanwhile the mortars up the top here count as a wyvern, strength 4, AP6, small blast. So Ali is going first. There is no seize the initiative. The Tyranids that have made it through the bombardment lines are going to be moving forward, and most of the monstrous creatures will be arriving hopefully turn 2. Carnifex is obviously leading the charge along with the Tervigon. So let's move into Imperial Guard, turn 1. Right, so here we go. Movement phase. Ali has opened the gate and the Leman Russ have poured out, looking to blow apart some Carnifex, I think. That's it. Let's move on to the shooting phase. Right, so mixed shooting here for the Imperial Guard. This lead Carnifex, the one in the centre, is on 1 wound. Couldn't make a cover save to save his life from all of those guys there. The Beast Hunter round took aim at the Tervigon, and unfortunately Ali scattered in the only place that didn't hit anything, right there. So thankful for us. Meanwhile down here we lost the brood of Venom Thropes to the auto cannons up here in the ramparts as well. The missile teams have taken aim at the Broodlord and managed to get a single wound on him with precision shots thanks to Ali's orders. So not a lot has been done. I think down here we made a lot of cover saves on the gargoyles, the gaunts, took a single wound on this Venom Thrope, and yeah, took 2 wounds on that lead Ravener there. So it's time for the Tyranids to surge forward. The gate is open. We need to take aim at those tanks, maybe warp lance them. Right, so Tyranids turn 1, all of the little guys swarming forward indeed. We've done a few of the run moves to save time due to it being quite a big game, and as you can see we are pushing forward. The Death Leaper has minused Mephiston's leadership. The Gaunts here, maybe we can get a charge in and get the Hive Tyrant far enough in with the piling moves, who knows. So down here every last thing is just pushing forward as well. So we haven't done the birthing yet for the Tervigon. The Carnifex have ran. We haven't done the psychic phase either. Again, we're doing this just to save time. So let's have a look at where Phil's Spore Mines came on. For the Spore Mines, well, these guys mishapped and Ali placed them right back here on the edge of the board, so they've ran forward. Unit of 3 has landed up here as well. The rest of them, the Mucolids and the other ones, have gone into ongoing reserve, so I think Ali is grateful that there's none landing in his deployment zone behind the bunker. So we're now going to move on to psychic phase. So the psychic phase for the Tyranids hasn't gone bad at all. We've got a bit of a plan. The Death Leaper is going to go for the Leman Russ on that side. My Hormigans are going to go for the Demolisher Leman Russ. Unfortunately, is it an Eradicator? The one in the middle isn't within range, but what we did do, Thropes here got Warp Lance off, managing to get a single hull point through on the Leman Russ, causing it a snapfire, which means no Beast Hunt around this turn at least. They also cast Feel No Pain, Catalyst on this near Carnifex just to keep him alive, make sure he gets to the gate. And they cast Spirit Leech on these guys up here. Ali, Phil, stop it. And Phil rolled a 6 on 3 dice. So Spirit Leech didn't do anything, unfortunately. So what we are going to do now is the big monstrous creatures are going to be turning up in the shooting phase, turn 1. represent the Tyranid swarm pushing forward. We've rolled for reserves on turn 1 with a 4 re-rolling. And what we've said is they have to be in base contact with the backline to represent that they've just arrived at the battlefield. They don't contribute or they didn't contribute to the psychic phase, but they can shoot or run. So we've got 2 Hive Crones, the Toxicrene, both Exocrines, the Demakaran, and we've got the Swarm Lord and the other Hive Crone as well. Things still off the board are the Tyrannifex, and we've also got Phil's Hive Tyrant as well off the board. Right, so the monsters that have just arrived have all ran forward. The Exocrines, the Demakaran, the Toxicrene, and both of the Hive Crones. We are surging forward as fast as we can. The Flying Hive Tyrant here shot his heavy venom cannon at the Leman Russ there, but failed to do anything. The Hive Guard as well failed to do anything. Just a note as well, in reserves, the Morlock actually mishapped in Ali's deployment zone, and he's placed them back here, and then he's ran. So that's not too good at all. And like I said, everything is surging forward. We need to get rid of some of these tanks maybe. We've got a couple of assaults to do before the Blood Angels potentially arrive. So yeah, our assaults didn't go too well. The Death Leaper made it in, and Phil only got 2 hits out of 6 attacks. Yeah, luckily though, the 2 hits both did a glance each, so that Leman Russ is down to 1 whole point. The Hormigans here needed a 10-inch charge with Fleet, and unfortunately didn't make it. And the Gargoyles, I was trying to get the Hive Tyrant in to be able to do some damage to this one. I needed 5 due to going over the barricade, and I failed. I rolled a 3. So assault phase wasn't too good at all. But that's it for the Tyranid phase. The swarm is amassing. So looking out of the gate at the Tyranid swarm hurtling forward, things are not looking good for the Imperial Guard. Do the Blood Angels arrive? Can Commissar Ali radio for help?
Blood Angels, do you copy? Blood Angels, do you copy? This is Imperial Guard Outpost 101. We are heavily surrounded by Tyranids. They're at the doors. They're covering up the walls. Blood Angels, do you copy? Blood Angels!
Ali has managed to summon some of the Blood Angel forces. Commander Dante and his Sanguinary Guard have landed. Both Storm Ravens as well have arrived on this flank. Cassor the Damned taking a very, very brave deep strike into the lines of the Tyranids, and he's facing the Hive Tyrant. He's coming up behind him. His drop pod almost a wreck. Brother Astromale has jumped out behind the defence lines, and he's going to level his frag cannon and his heavy flamer across the front of the gaunts. The Land Raider deep striking straight behind him with Mephiston and the Hammonators in. I know Land Raiders can't deep strike anymore, but in 5th edition they could, so we thought, why not? Astaroth and his retinue of Death Company have landed here as well, only scattering D6 inches because of Dante's Warlord trait, and Josh getting a direct hit down here, so he's probably going to end up going for the Turbogon. Raptor and the Tactical Marines with the Heavy Flamer have jumped out to purge the Gene Stealers at this side. What we've agreed to try and keep it fluffy is that if the Blood Angels pass an initiative test on the lowest initiative in the squad, they can charge on the turn that they arrive. So, Dante failed their initiative test. Josh rolled a 5. Yes, Dante's initiative 6, but we're using lowest initiative. Cassor failed, so he can't charge. Astromale, however, passed, as did the Death Company here, so I'm expecting probably the Zoanthropes and either the Turbogon or the Toxicrene to be taken down in the assault phase. The Tactical Marines also didn't pass, so they are not going to be charging the Gene Stealers, which means, should we survive, we will be taking out those Tactical Marines next turn. Meanwhile, the Martes, unfortunately, landed on the Spore Mines further back and mishapped, so me and Philip placed him right on this back line, and Josh has already just ran him forward. So looking out, although the Blood Angels have arrived, the Tyranids are swarming forward indeed. And Commissar Ali has gave the order to close the gate.
Now the Blood Angels are here, we can take it easy, men. Bring me a Tyranid sandwich.
What a devastating turn of events. The Blood Angels have come in and made their mark on the Tyranid horde. The warriors here taking wounds to the Angelus bolters, and despite Dante getting a hit with his Infernus pistol, failed to wound. The Hive Crone here, unfortunately, has been brought to the ground, failed his grounding test and took a wound. He's now down to 1 wound with fire from the Black Storm Raven. Meanwhile, down here, the Hurricane bolters and the assault cannon from the Red Storm Raven smashed apart most of the gargoyles, as well as the flamers from the Leman Russ there. There's only a few gargoyles left with the Hive Tyrant, so he's not going to be able to take many more wounds at all. The Shrouded save from the Malanthrope, keeping a few of them alive. Cassor has even tried to shoot in, as well as the drop pod, and only killing a single gargoyle. Down here we lost the middle Carnifex, and the Carnifex here took a wound due to the las cannon teams manning the gate. The Leman Russ also trying to pump in, doing damage, hurting the Carnifex there as well. Meanwhile, Brother Astromale levelled his frag cannon. He's killed a single Zoanthrope and a handful of Gaunts as well. The Hurricane bolters from the Land Raider turning sideways and bringing Death Leaper to the ground. Phil filling 3 saves. Meanwhile, the assault cannon come beaming in and took a wound off the Turbogon. Fire Raptor pilot that came in took aim at the Hive Crone and stripped it of 2 wounds, passing its grounding test though. Thankfully, it's not damaged. Losing a couple of the Gene Stealers here to the barrage from the mortars on top of the ramparts. Meanwhile, down here, the Tactical Marines, the guy with the heavy flamer levelled his flamer, burnt the Gene Stealers to death, almost. There's a single Gene Stealer, and the Broodlord is on 2 wounds. Dare we charge them? That wall of flame will be nasty indeed. Combat, Astromale has charged in, got 2 wounds on the Zoanthropes, and the Zoanthropes passed both of their inruns. Phil elected to smash back, got 1 hit, 1 pen, and unfortunately he's just shaken, which means he's snap firing, which is irrelevant because he's now in combat. So never mind about that. Down here, the 3 Power Sword Death Company alone made mincemeat of that Turbogon, and as a result, Synaptic Backlash has killed all but 2 Termagants. Not good at all for the Tyranids. So let's move into Tyranids. Turn 2. Right, so in the movement phase, we've done the sight phase as well. Spore Mines have come across, and the Raveners are coming back. Hopefully some nice tasty rends on this unit here. Swarm Lord has also pulled this way. We managed to paroxysm Dante's unit, -2 to the weapon and ballistic skill. So that's going to be handy when fighting, and the Swarm Lord has seen Dante land and he wants a piece of him. That is going to be one brutal combat, we think. Meanwhile, the Hive Guard and Tyranid warriors can see the rear armour of Cassor. They're looking hopefully to get rid of him. If they don't, the Demakarin is towering over him with a Malanthrope. We want that 12-inch preferred enemy bubble as well. The Hormigans down here are pushing forward, looking to get rid of this Leman Russ. The Gargoyles and the Hive Tyrant going for the one with the Beast Hunter shell. And the other Hormigans there looking to take that one out as well. We push the Carnifex this way, we can get rid of the drop pod if we need to. The Hive Guard and the Gaunt. And we've turned on the Death Company. The Tervagon let out a huge scream as she was cut down. Both Exocrines, the Warriors, the Carnifex, the Toxicrene and the Tyrannifex all want a piece of Astaroth and this Death Company. We want to whittle their numbers down. We need to. Otherwise they are going to destroy the monsters in this back line. One of the Mucolids came down, but unfortunately it was blown off course with a mishap and it's ended up in this back corner. But down here, the Gene Stealers are making their move to take out the tactical squad at this side. The Broodlord has summoned all of his Gene Stealers to come and take them out. Meanwhile, over this side, the Hive Crone has vector struck the Storm Raven there. We need to work that out and see whether or not he can bring it down. Meanwhile here, this Hive Tyrant got a deep strike, perfect hit, tried to cast Warp Lance on the side armour of the Basilisk, but unfortunately didn't get it off. Meanwhile the other two Mucolids have landed, looking potentially to distract Lamartes and the Death Company, I think. And this Hive Crone is also flown over the top, looking to start inflicting some damage as well. Let's see what we can do in the shooting phase. The Spore Mines down here have landed, looking to start and eat away at the heavy weapons team. There's also one landing on the ramparts at the other side. The Spore Mines proving a big distraction, hopefully, for the Guardsmen. Right, so the Vector Strike and Hive Crone managed to strip a single hull point from this Storm Raven, and it's shaken, so it's snap firing next turn. Combined fire from the Warriors managed to bring out a single hull point from Cassor the Damned, and as a result the Hive Guard here decided to take aim at the Storm Raven on the off chance we could blow it up, but unfortunately we couldn't. Moving across, the Exocrines, because they've just pivoted, and we had this Carnifex and the Devourers from the Warriors, as well as Shredder Shard Beetles, and the Acid Spray managed to bring the Death Company almost to the knees. Heresy, the mutating Gaunt that pops up now and again, even killed the lone Death Company himself. We wanted this Carnifex to charge in at Astromale, but unfortunately the Hive Guard there had already shot at the tanks across the way. So he's gone after the drop pod. We didn't get any glances on the drop pod. Meanwhile, around this side here, the Devourers managed to wreck the Basilisk, causing explosions in the back line. Meanwhile, in the centre down here, the Carnifex and the Toxicrene are going to be charging in at these Death Company and Astaroth in the hopes that we can bring them down. Other assaults that we're going to be making, the Carnifex there will be charging the drop pod. The Hive Tyrant, Warlord at the back there, is going to smash the Leman Russ apart. The Hormigans flanking them each side to hopefully get rid of the ones on the flank, which means that next turn he can start and smash down that door. Meanwhile over here, the Demakarin, he's not going to get feel no pain against the Walker, against Cassor, but he is going to be bringing him down hopefully. The Malanthrope's going to charge in to grant me that 12-inch preferred enemy as well. And over here, I'm going to charge the Raveners in, as well as the Swarm Lord as well. Swarmy wants a piece of Dante. Let's run, let's charge, and eat some flesh. So down here in the assault phase, these guys are going to be charging in, as are the Gene Stealers, running around the other side of the drop pod there. Right, so the Gene Stealers that were going around the outside of the drop pod absorbed the overwatch from the heavy flamer and bolt guns and were cut down. Whilst they were distracted, the Broodlord charged in with his lone Gene Stealer and managed to cut down 2 of the Marines there. Meanwhile, these guys charged in with the Rending Claws and managed to get 2 hull points off this drop pod. So we're managing to start to take back this flank, but Mephiston is going to jump out of there very soon. Down here in the centre, what a combat phase indeed. The two Gaunts both charged in, trying to eat the Overwatch, made it in. The Power Sword Death Company cut them down, and the Toxicrene and the Strength 10 Carnifex managed to bring down the remaining Death Company and managed to instant kill Astaroth. Astaroth didn't even get to swing with his unwieldy axe before the Carnifex tore him in half. They've consolidated, looking hopefully at maybe to take the Dreadnought out next turn. Unfortunately, no blows are exchanged in that combat. The Zoanthropes unable to harm Brother Astromale. In the centre, right in front of the gate, there has been absolute carnage. This Carnifex managed to tear open the drop pod and explode it, killing some of the Hormigans clambering over the wall. The Hormigans here managed to tear apart the Leman Russ. We lost some of the Gargoyles there in the explosion, but the Hive Tyrant tore that Leman Russ apart as well. And the Lictor and the Hormigans at this side managing to bring down this Leman Russ. So there has been carnage at the gate. The Hive Tyrant Warlord is going to be pounding on that gate next turn. Meanwhile, down here, the Demakaran hurtled in and sliced Cassor the Damned straight in half. The Malanthrope did issue the challenge. Unfortunately, didn't manage to tie Cassor up. The Demakaran, being a higher initiative, managed to bring him down before he got to swing, which granted preferred enemy within 12 inches on Blood Angels. Down here, the Swarm Lord elected to use preferred enemy on himself, and for charge range, I rolled a 3. Not enough to make it in, and he hasn't got fleet. Meanwhile, the Raveners charged in. Dante cut one of them down to the ground, and there was only 2 of them left on a single wound each, and we managed to actually bring down 3 of the Sanguinary Guard. The Sanguinary Guard in turn cutting the Raveners down. So they need to consolidate, as does the Demakaran and the Malanthrope. It's looking as though it's turning around a little bit for the Tyranids, but there's going to be a lot of damage and firepower coming forward from the forces of the Imperium this turn, we think. Right, so back in Blood Angels and Imperial Guard, turn 3. Dante has seen the Swarm Lord, and he wants a piece with me, wants the glory for himself, preventing anybody from breaking into the fortress. This Storm Raven has dropped to hover mode, probably looking to take on the Hive Guard or the Warriors. Meanwhile, one of the Melter Pods has landed, slap bang in the centre of the fray, looking probably to get rid of the Warriors and the Synapse in the centre of the board here. The Martes is charging through the smoke, and he's seen a piece of the Hive Tyrant. He wants a piece of him for himself as well. The Fire Raptor coming sideways, looking probably to use the Mauler Bolt Cannon to take on the Demakaran, and an auto cannon each side, maybe to pop some Gaunts or the Hive Guard. And something scary has happened. The Lord of Death has emerged. He is going to be inflicting some pain on this Carnifex or that one. While the red Storm Raven has turned sideways and come in to hopefully support the back line here, take out the Mucolids, or start eating away at this Hive Tyrant as well. The Guardsmen on the ramparts, scared for their lives at a Hive Tyrant running around in the backfield. Swarm of Tyranids coming through the gate is a scary sight to the guard. The Martes is going to stand strong and try and stop the flying Hive Tyrant here from breaking through. So the shooting phase hasn't gone too well for the Tyranids. The Blood Angels have done a lot of damage indeed. Down here, the Infernus pistols managed to bring down one of the Tyrant Guard. Dante is staring down the Swarm Lord. He wants a piece of him. Meanwhile, the snap-firing Storm Raven managed to bring down one of the guard, the Tyranid Warrior, sorry, with the multi-melter, and actually used Power of the Machine Spirit with the Assault Cannon to level the Democara. And the Malanthrope was cut down due to the las cannons up there, and as a result the Fire Raptor took aim with that Avenger Bolt cannon on the front and took 4 wounds from the Democaran, the last 2 getting through from the Assault Cannon. The Hive Tyrant in the middle here took fire from the Martyrs' squad just down there, and unfortunately he's lost 2 wounds altogether. And the Hormigans that were in the middle died to the Flamers in the Chimera. Down here the Warriors took fire from the Assault Marines, one of the melter guns killing one of them outright, and the rest of the bolt of fire putting 2 wounds on that guy. Mephiston shot his plasma pistol at this Carnifex and failed to do any damage, whilst the Hurricane Bolters and the Assault Cannon managed to get a single wound in on that Carnifex there. It's worth noting in the psychic phase, Josh tried to get quickening off on Mephiston. We managed to stop it, and then he got Unleash Rage off on 2 dice, and despite me and Phil chucking 10 into it, only rolled a single 6. And Mephiston and the Terminators are going to be chucking out a lot of attacks when they charge one of these Carnifexes, we reckon. Down here the Scouts fired the bolt pistols and managed to do a single wound on the Mucolid. The Gene Stealers here in combat with the drop pod took fire with Power of the Machine Spirit from the Land Raider through there, but we managed to pass our cover saves. Right, so down here, fire from the Guardsmen in the ramparts all the way around. Managed to bring down some of the spore mines here. Both Mucolids have exploded, and the Hive Tyrant has took a single wound as well, but he's still flying, so he can vector strike this guy in his next turn. That Storm Raven is going to have to drop to hover mode, so Phil might drop to hover mode to potentially charge it next turn. So devastating shooting phase there for the Guardsmen, but it looks as though there is a mass of wreckage at the gate, and I think Lamar is going to be charging that Hive Tyrant. Wow, what a turn in combat down here. Dante hurtling in, the Swarm Lord parrying attacks all together. The Hive Tyrant lost the Swarm Lord, sorry, lost a single wound. Dante, the Mastercrafted Power Axe and the Mastercrafted Power Sword there as well, only inflicting a single wound on the Swarm Lord. Down here the Hive Tyrant has been slain. Raffin and Lamartes charged in. The Hive Tyrant issued a challenge of Raffin stepped up. The Hive Tyrant cut down Raffin and 2 of the Death Company, and Lamartes came in and smashed him to the ground with his Power Maul. Down here in combat, the Dreadnought smashed one of the Zoanthropes into the ground. Meanwhile, the enraged Terminators charged in, Mephiston bringing the Carnifex down to 1 wound, and the Carnifex crushing one of the Terminators in his claws before the rest of them pummeled him to death. Meanwhile, on this flank, the Gene Stealers managed to wreck the drop pod, and the lone Gene Stealer and the Broodlord here cutting down 2 of the Marines, the Heavy Flamer holding his nerve. So that is it, devastating turn there against the Tyranids. Let's move on to Tyranids turn 3.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Right, so down here the Morlock came in, popped up straight on Lamartes. Unfortunately, he passed all of his invuns and feel no pains on the squad. So as a result, the Lictor, the Zoanthrope and the Hormigans are going to be charging Lamartes after the Hive Tyrant was cut down. The Warriors here are going to be going into the Assault Marines as is the Tyranids. Hopefully we can get rid of these guys down here. The Carnifex, we're going to be charging the Land Raider, try and cut that down, whilst both of the Exocrines go for the Terminators here. The Toxicrene probably going to be charging in as well. We've moved the Warriors across here, just within range of the Assault Marines here, in the hopes of being able to cut them down. The Hive Guard are staying where they are, and between that and the Hive Chrome, we're hoping to get rid of this Storm Raven whilst this combat is ongoing. So that's it for movement. Let us move on to the Psychic phase. In the Psychic phase, the Zoanthrope tried to cast Warp Lance, got it off, but he perilled unfortunately, hit the Chimera in the background, and Ali passed his cover save. Right, so with this Storm Raven in hover mode, the Hive Guard took aim with their Impaler cannons and managed to get 2 hits and 2 pens. Obviously not being able to jink against that brought it down. As a result, the Hive Crone had nothing else to do, so he shot 2 Tentaclids at this drop pod, not doing any damage at all. Both units of Warriors decided that they wanted a piece of the Marines here and didn't do anything at all with the Devourers. It was the Acid Spray and the Shredder Shard Beetles from the Tyranids that have done the damage. As a result, both the Exocrines shot in the Terminators, as did the Toxicrene, and 2 Terminators were brought down, so they need a leadership check along with the Marines here. In the Psychic phase, the Swarm Lord cast Paroxysm on Dante and his unit, periling in the process and losing a wound, but we managed to drop Dante's weapon skill by 2. He's now down to weapon skill 4, which means he hits back on 5s if he survives. Meanwhile, over this side of the board, there is the ongoing combat with the Broodlord, the Gene Stealers, and the Mucilid making a beeline for the Scouts here. So, in the back of the fortress, a Mucilid has landed here, and this Spore Mine is going to be charging, but in the shooting phase, we managed to bring this Storm Raven here down to 1 hull point. It's hovering around, and I think the Hive Tyrant and the Hive Crone are looking to do some damage to it indeed. So down on 1 hull point is good. It hasn't been a bad shooting phase at all. We've now got a couple of combats. The Zoanthrope and the Lictor leading the charge through the gate here. Right, so down here, the Broodlord and the Gene Stealer again failing to cut down that tactical marine. But back here, the Gene Stealers and the Spore Mine, Mucilid, cutting down 3 of the Marines. Catching them, however, and locking them due to and they shall know no fear. Right, in combat down here, the Carnifex glanced the Land Raider with his Hammer of Wrath and managed to get a glance and 2 pens with his Crushing Claws. One of the pens blowing the Land Raider sky high. Meanwhile, Brother Astromil is still locked up with the Neurothrope. The Neurothrope is standing defiant with his Psychic Energy Shield behind him. And as you can see in the middle here, the Toxicrene managed to cut down 2 of the Terminators. Phil using Toxic Miasma to try and do some extra wounds. He took a wound, however, from Mephiston, the Haminator that was left. Failed to wound, and then Mephiston has ran away. Who'd have thought of that? Mephiston running. Combats in the centre here, the Zoanthrope, all of the Hormigants, and the Lictor. The only damage that was done was the Lictor got a single wound through on Lamartez. Lamartez beating the Lictor to the ground with that power maul of his. He is some guy. Meanwhile, in the centre here, the 2 Warriors charged in, and no wounds were exchanged between the Assault Marines. The Tyranids smashing the drop pod, but unfortunately not doing any damage at all to it. So, the only thing we've got left to do is this assault here. So, we'll pick up some dice. look at this. A lone Mucilid has picked up a guardsman and he's fleeing.
It's running away shouting, "We did it!"
Right, so we're almost at the end of turn 3 and it looks like it's going to be an Imperial victory. The guardsmen have stayed strong along their defence lines despite losing a lot of tanks in the centre. Martes and Raffin's Death Company are holding the gate. The gate will not fall. It's been absolutely disgusting. So many Tyranids, so many burns from the Blood Angels. The Blood Angels dropped in a nick of time, purging the Tyranid forces. There's not a lot of Tyranids left at all. And as I said, Martes standing proud, holding those gaunts up there, stopping them from charging through. The Assault Marines here, holding Warriors and Hive Guard, holding out in the centre, but Dante is hunting the Swarm Lord. So this is going to be the last combat of the game. Let's see how this pans out. Right, so we're going to resolve this combat down here. The Swarm Lord and Dante are swinging at the same time. However, the Swarm Lord is going to be hitting on 3. So we'll work out the Swarm Lords first, hitting on 3s, and I'm going to use preferred enemy. Oh! That's not good. Come on. Wow. That's not fine at all. Looking for 2s to wound, instant death. There we go, there's 2 wounds through. So is Dante going to take them?
Lookout says.
Okay. So, drop both the Sanguinary Guard. Dante is now going to get the swing back, but he is hitting on 5s due to paroxysm.
5s.
Master crafted. So reroll 1. Two hits. Strength 6, wounding on 4s.
Yep.
So no wounds at all. Sanguinary Priest gets to swing back.
3 attacks from him. He hits on something daft.
5s, no hits. So we're going to call that as an Imperial victory. It's took 4 of us most of the day to get through 3 turns. It has been brutal and bloody indeed. I hope you've enjoyed the game. Massive thank you to Josh, Ali and Phil for playing the game. It's been an absolute blast. This game's been played at Games of War. This board is available for people to play on. I'll post a link to Games of War Facebook page in the description. They offer a host of discounts on quite a lot of miniature and card games. So thank you to Games of War for hosting us. And like I said, thanks to Josh, Ali and Phil. Until next time.
Well, that was an absolutely stirring victory there. Didn't lose too many men. Kept the faith in the Emperor. Haven't got many rations left, but we've got plenty of brandy, plenty of cigars. Fine reading material right here. I think tonight is going to be a good night. Hope our Space Marines bugger off though. Party poopers.